Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're starting right on time today. What a fabulous crowd. If you were here last year, it is 45 degrees warmer now than it was last year, so this is great stuff. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Those of you who've attended these rallies in the past know that we have no facilities, so you're on your own. But we do have some great stuff here. We are raffling off a Mossberg Shockwave 20 gauge. Tickets are available here. Down with my ladies. Yes, we've all been saying we want to win it. We have a raffle going for 2 Rustic Glory handmade painted flags that are going to be here in a little bit. They're running a little late. We've got all kinds of wonderful hot chocolate and coffee and chili and cookies, cupcakes, chips.
You know, women set this up.
Of course, women set this up. Chilies and the beans. So welcome to the 4th annual Women's Defense League of New Hampshire Gun Rights or Women's Rights Rally. We are so happy you are here. I want to take a minute before we get started and introduce some very, very important people here today. I'm not important, but I'm Susan Olson. I'm the Director of Legislation. Hold your applause for the big guy. Michelle Lavelle, Chair, Women's Defense League. Miss Kimberly Martin, President, Women's Defense League. Our Vice President, Monique Curry, isn't here. She's taking another class. She's a busy, busy girl. She sends her love. We have Miss Catherine Corrente, Director of Education. Miss Cynthia Hunnam, Director at Large. Miss Jessica Call, who's our Corporate Secretary. So, ladies, thank you so much. Two more folks here that I'm going to introduce if you guys want to. Yes, you may exit stage right or left. No, you can't. You can. As you know, we always start the rally and acknowledge our heritage in a number of different ways. We've asked, this is not bad. This is not bad. We're going to ask Senator Kevin Avard to lead us in a blessing, please, Senator. Down to the mic.
Welcome, everybody. Are you glad to be here?
Yes, sir.
Would you all bow with me for a word of prayer? Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, most glorious God. Father, it is you who has endowed us with the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is you who gives us these freedoms, and we thank you for them. Father, we also thank you for living in a free country. We thank you for those who have showed up today. We ask for a blessing upon you. Lord God, I also ask that you help us to be good stewards of the gifts of freedom that you have given us, that we may preserve them for the next generation. I thank you for the Lord Jesus, and I pray in his name. Amen.
I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't know our next guest, former state representative Miss Jane Cormier, who has truly a gift from God. She's going to lead us in singing the national anthem. So, ladies and gentlemen, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly
got a really nice lineup of folks here today, and as you know, we don't make this about elections or partisan politics, except when they encroach upon us deliberately. But our first speaker today is a fellow who's kind of new to politics. He was smart enough to leave the West Coast, born in Everett, Washington. It's a long time ago, but you know, my husband's from that part of the world. He got smart too. Senator Kevin Avard, who served one term in the House, took some time off, came back with a vengeance, and is now in his second term in the New Hampshire Senate, chairing a really important committee, Energy and Natural Resources. Hoping you guys do some good stuff. He also chairs the Rules Committee and is vice chair of a committee that is doing work that could have an incredibly huge impact on the future of New Hampshire on health and human services. But Senator Avard, those of you who don't know him as well as we do, may not realize that he co-sponsored Senate Bill 12 last year, constitutional carry, and worked hard in the Senate and on the House to get that bill passed, and for that we owe everybody. This year, Senator Avard sponsored another bill, which somehow became more controversial. Senate Bill 500, which is a housekeeping bill, taking care of some firearms terminology that has passed the Senate unanimously, I might add. Unanimously. Democrats and Republicans. How many were in the Senate that day? Was everybody there? 23? 24? 24 to zip. Now that says something about the kind of work and the kind of leadership that Senator Avard provides. So, Senator, would you please take the steps? We want to hear from you.
I'm actually very humbled to be out here and to speak in front of you. You are true patriots. Is anybody here suitable to own a gun?
Yes, sir.
Can I hear, is anybody suitable here to own a gun?
Yes, sir.
How about to carry a gun?
Yes.
I agree with you. The word suitable was an ancient word. It was pre-civil rights era. It really was. We got rid of it with constitutional carry. But it lingered in other bills, so that's why, one of the other reasons why we brought in SB 500. We got a lot of crap for that. There isn't anybody here among you, whether you're carrying or not carrying, that is more supportive of our Second Amendment than me. Also, our First Amendment. We have a right to worship, we have a right to speak because of our First Amendment. We have a right to use words, whether they're popular or they're unpopular, because of the First Amendment. I have a right to worship my God because of the First Amendment. I have a right to speak my grievances to my government because of the First Amendment. But the First Amendment's under attack. There are people that are gifted at sabotaging words. When I was in high school, my teacher, Mr. Yule, none of you probably know him, but we need more Mr. Yules. Mr. Yule taught us about the naked communist, Americanism versus communism, Masters of Deceit by J. Hoover, a whole host of books in high school that would get us thinking about our liberties. One of the things that he had up on the chalkboard that we had to memorize was a phrase. I don't know who wrote it. All I remember was the phrase. Semantics are the atom bomb of persuasion. Semantics are the atom bomb of persuasion. If you got a ship going this direction, and you can turn that ship around with one word, you've done an amazing task. Right now, there's a resist movement. Does anybody know what that resist movement is about? It's about resisting our president. Ladies and gentlemen, we can hijack that word and we can resist those that want to attack our Second Amendment. We're here to protect the Second Amendment and the words that follow with it. Some of you are carrying guns. Are they assault weapons? They're guns! They're not assault weapons. But if you put a word behind your gun, we can attack your liberties. In my heart, I am telling you right now, we have got to stick together. Amen. Who's against you? Is it our educational systems? Higher education? Is it our media?
Yeah.
Do they tell our side of the story?
Never.
They are unified. If we start eating our own, we will lose our liberties, and they're counting on it. I was very surprised when I put in SB 500, the attacks that I got. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not Nancy Pelosi, and I'm not a sleazy politician like her. And that's what I was accused of. It's just not that way. When our own attack our own, we get nowhere. It's time to be unified. Listen, if you're not doing something this election, you're part of the problem, by the way. They're getting people out to the polls. They're not only knocking on doors, they're getting people out to the polls. They're using children and exploiting them in their process of attacking your Second Amendment liberties. If you do nothing other than complain, you're part of the problem. I am so sick. I don't care if you're what I'm saying here. I am so sick of people out there criticizing and doing absolutely nothing other than throwing mud. It's time to get people to the polls. It's time to encourage one another. When we devour one another, we lose the battle. When the battle is going tough, and you're in the foxhole, or you're out in there and somebody's criticizing you, go out there and start supporting them. Encourage. Thank you for your service. Thank you for doing the right thing. Lift somebody up. And I said it again, I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it again. Bring somebody to the polls. Bring somebody to the polls. That's what they're doing. It's important. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. I read in the book of Proverbs today. Go to the ant. The sluggard folds his arms, crosses his legs, and does nothing, and then he finds out, and then he asks the question, why am I hungry? Why are the Democrats winning all these elections? Is it because we're self-righteous, sanctimonious, and we've got all the right answers, but we can't get off the couch and do something? It's time to do something. We have our founders that gave up everything. They gave up everything for our freedoms today. It's time for us to do the same thing. The critics are out there, they're well-oiled, they're well-funded, but you know what? We can win because we are right. Woo! I want to shout shout out to one person in the crowd. His name is Larry Cleveland.
Yay!
Why am I shouting out to Larry Cleveland? Because he's doing something. I'm sure some of you are out there too. There's some state reps in our audience right now. Woo! I didn't ask you to say anything, guys. They're good people and they're fighting for your liberties. I want to thank the Women's Defense League for letting me be here. Woo! I learned a life lesson a long, long time ago when I was in the orphanage. I was born in Washington, but I was brought here when I was 3 years old. And I lived in St. Peter's Orphanage for 4 years. And I lived in the baby wards. And I had 3 sisters and 1 big brother. It's always my sisters that took care of me. It's always the baby girls and the big girls that took care of the cute little boy. Never dismiss that, guys. There's power here. When God made Adam and Eve, He gave us the half brain, He gave them both sides. It's just the way it is. But He made them our equals. And thank God for it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
I don't know who that guy was.
I changed my mind.
Do I know you?
No.
Oh, I'm just live streaming for a
This
media
man
page.
needs to go back
Oh, what media page?
to the Senate.
News to share. We've covered a lot of the protests.
Hopefully we're good. We've had a lot of people who oppose
Let me read those
human rights
towns.
here.
I think
No,
I wrote them
I'm
down.
all for the Second Amendment, but I can't
And
speak
they're
for the
real
media
towns,
production
Ridge.
team.
Oh, right on.
You're welcome.
Brookline, although we worry about Brookline a little bit. What are your towns, Larry? Kevin. Brookline, Ringe, New Ipswich. What? Greenville. Not Louisville. Hollis. That's it. All right. If you Mason, if you live in any of those towns or know people that live in those towns, take them to the poll. Let's get this man back in the Senate. Thank you, Sandra, very much. Somebody else who was very important in getting constitutional carry enacted into law sent a note here this morning that I'd like to read to you. Dear friends, when I ran for governor, I made a commitment to the people of New Hampshire that I would protect our Second Amendment rights, and that's what I've done. The first bill I signed as governor was Senate Bill 12, Constitutional Carry, ensuring that New Hampshire citizens are guaranteed the fundamental right to carry a firearm in defense of themselves and their families as prescribed by Article 2A of the New Hampshire Constitution. Constitutional carry is common sense legislation that aligned our concealed carry laws with that of our neighboring states of Vermont and Maine and states across the country. It's about safety. It's about making sure that the laws on our books and keeping people safe while remaining true to the live free or die spirit that makes New Hampshire the great state that it is. I believe that New Hampshire does it right. Our laws are well crafted and fit our culture of responsible gun ownership and individual freedom. We should continue to focus our attention on the problems we can solve and to work to ensure that New Hampshire continues as one of the safest states in the nation. As long as I am in Congress, we can count to protect your constitutional rights, promote the principles of justice, equality of opportunity, and personal responsibility. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the great state of New Hampshire. Sincerely, Christopher T. Sununu, Governor of the state of New Hampshire. And those of you who know me, before we go much further, know I'm kind of a history buff. speakers, if you will indulge me. And if you won't, well, I have the mic. On February 10th, 1763, the Treaty of Paris was signed, ending the 7 years French and Indian Wars, ruinously expensive, carried on in North America. As part of the terms, France ceded Canada to Great Britain, dramatically and instantaneously increasing the cost of defending the American colonies. Coupled with a failing East India Company, King George began looking at ways to tax the colonies to try to shore up the empire's very fragile finances. 1764's Sugar Act was the first
And they got toy
direct
guns.
tax placed on the colonies by Great Britain, and was followed the Stamp Act. Virginia, shockingly, for what we know of it today, refused to comply. Even odder and more shocking, New York dared Great Britain to force it to comply. And by the fall of 1765, 9 of the 13 colonies declared it unconstitutional and refused to comply. 3 years later, Great Britain repeals that act and says, we reserve the right, if we want to come back and tax you. Great Britain tried again in 1767 and levied duties on tea, on glass, on paper, on paint, on lead. But the colonial assemblies condemned it, saying they would not support taxation without representation. In the fall of 1768, British troops arrived in Boston. British troops arrived in Boston in response to this political unrest. On March 5, 1770, a crowd began harassing a group of soldiers guarding a customs house in Boston. A British soldier was knocked down by a snowball, discharged his musket, and a volley was sent into the crowd, which killed 5 civilians. 2 years later, the British revenue schooner, the Gaspee, ran aground near Providence, Rhode Island, was burned by the locals, angered by the attempted enforcement of trade legislation. In July of 1773, letters that were written by a fellow named Thomas Hutchinson, who was the Massachusetts governor, were published advocating a great restraint of natural liberty. Anybody heard that before? In one he wrote, quote, "This is most certainly a crisis. I really wish that there may not have been the least degree of severity beyond which is absolutely necessary to maintain the dependence which a colony ought to have upon the parent state. But if no measure shall have been taken to secure this dependence, it is all over for us. I never think of the measures necessary for the peace and good order of the colonies without pain. I relieve myself, however, by considering that in a remove from the state of nature to the most perfect state of government, there must be a great restraint of natural liberty." In 1774, King George stripped Massachusetts of self-government, closed the port, and a series of intolerable acts became the law of the land. The 13 colonies responded with a general boycott of British goods. In September of 1774, the colonial delegates to the Continental Congress met to organize an opposition to these intolerable acts. After the battles of Lexington and Concord, after the Battle of Bunker Hill, after 12 years of trying to work with Great Britain to solve these issues, to have them recognize our natural rights and our self-determination, our forefathers hadn't given up. They joined together and endorsed a proposal for recognition of those American rights and liberties and ending the intolerable acts in exchange for a ceasefire. Well, in that petition they wrote, "Conclude not from this that we propose to surrender our property into the hands of your ministry, or vest your parliament with a power which may terminate in our destruction. The great bulwarks of our Constitution we have desired to maintain by every temper, by every peaceable means. But your ministers have added to their former oppressions an attempt to reduce us by the sword to a base and abject submission. On that sword, therefore, we are compelled to rely for protection. Should victory declare in your favor, men trained to arms from their infancy and animated by the love of liberty will afford neither a cheap or easy conquest. Of this at least we are assured, that our struggle will be glorious, our success certain, since even in death will we find that freedom in life which you forbid us to enjoy." On the 23rd of August, George III rejected it and declared all of the colonies to be in open rebellion. The next month, a 27-year-old man named Billy Trowbridge, one of those men trained in arms from infancy, picked up his musket, left his wife, left his children, left his farm, and enlisted in the Connecticut militia.
Chilly out here.
For that very freedom. My name is Susan Olson. I am a true daughter of the American Revolution. I am an inheritor from the original 3%. I am a founder of the Women's Defense League of New Hampshire. Billy Trowbridge's blood runs in my veins. 9 generations later, 243 years later, I stand here today before God and every one of you to tell you that the fight was never about hunting. The fight was always for freedom, the fight was for liberty, and the fight never ends. This is our responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. It hasn't changed. It's for us to lose and to be brought by the sword to submission. I will not submit. Thank you. That's my girl, Judy. I'm going to introduce someone here that I don't think has ever spoken at one of these things before, to my knowledge. Born as the result of a failed experiment designed to create a more tolerant and intelligent being, Bob Clegg punched the doctor for slapping his backside. He then hit on the nurse, who was considerably older than he was, but with little success. Who gets to do this, huh? Who else has this much fun? Bob went to public schools until they no longer had a desk in which he could fit, by which time he became a candidate for political life. Having been a shoeshine boy in the betting parlor, Bob learned just how life ran, and he wanted a piece of it. He tore down historic buildings in Nashua in his youth so that new bricks and mortar could rise from those ashes and become an eyesore in a neighborhood filled with Victorian-era homes. He then destroyed what was left of a tomato field in Hudson when the farmers' greenhouses collapsed in a 100-year blizzard. The tomato fields were quickly turned into an industrial complex designed to enslave the worker, making them seem like drones who woke, went to work, and then after work to the pub, and then home to start the journey all over again. As a politician, however, Bob soon lost sight of the politician's creed. Instead of assisting wealthy families in New Hampshire, he worked to end taxpayers' funds from being used for that which benefited only the rich. Bob ran for Congress. But in the words of the party founders, we want him to run, and we want him to keep running. The further he is from New Hampshire, the better. We support his run. I do not. Bob Clegg, how many terms did you serve in the House? 7 terms in the House. He then went to the New Hampshire Senate, became the majority leader, kicked some serious backside, and by the grace of God had the sense to join us in the private sector. I could not be prouder to introduce my friend and one of our greatest defenders of liberty, former Senator Bob Clegg.
Thank you. I want you to know I'm not part of the Wayback Machine. All of that was written as a joke. I had no idea she was actually going to use it. First part's correct, though. I did punch it up. I don't usually come to speak because it's really all about you. I've been in politics for a long time. I walked the halls with some great people. Senator Dodd, John Burt's here, Greg Hill. There's a whole lot of reps and people that fight to keep not only our Second Amendment, but our First Amendment as well. People who fight to make sure that we still have the liberties. And just one.
Yeah, I know.
If I could follow Susan and be more like Susan, I'd be even more successful. She's one of the best, toughest. Nobody dares to fight with her. I think Chuck Norris is afraid.
She beat his ass too.
But I am here to say thank you for showing up to something that was advertised by us as a great family. I say us because I am the token white boy that's a member of Women's Defense League. They tell me I can vote in 100 years. This was supposed to be exactly what it is today. And there are some out there who are putting it out there as that this was the anti-Second Amendment rally. So if you're against the Second Amendment, would you raise your hand, please? Yeah, that's what I thought. I'll tell you, when we walk the halls, it's not as easy as people think. So what we tried to do, Senate Bill 500 was a good example. What we tried to do was we tried to make it so that farmers could actually carry a loaded rifle on their tractor or in their truck. So if a coyote was taking one of their lambs or calves, he could actually shoot. He didn't have to go, oops, okay, let me go back to the barn, because as you know, by then it's too late. We did that because it was the right thing to do, and the laws didn't allow us to. We changed the definition of firearms so it's got one definition. And the definition basically says if you can shoot a gun, if you can shoot a bullet, it's a firearm. But we took out the part that said your lower was a gun, the suppressor was a gun, and a whole lot of other stuff. Took it out. So now we have one definition, there's no complaints. We added air rifles. Why? Because people are starting to use air rifles for hunting. We also actually had a suicide in the state of New Hampshire with an air rifle. So we want to be careful how we talk about them. We also want to make sure that we don't stop kids from being able to go out there with their BB guns and their pellet guns and do what we all used to do. It's nothing like squirrel stew when you're a kid. So, there are other things we did. The definition now of a loaded gun, if this continues to go through the House, is having a round in the chamber ready to fire only by pulling the trigger. Prior to that, a loaded gun, rifle or shotgun, was if you had the ammunition or a loaded magazine someplace close. So a lot of people, you'd have your gun in the case, and you'd have your ammo in the case, you were illegally carrying a loaded rifle in your vehicle. Now, Kevin got a lot of email that attacked him for changing that to you actually had to have a round in the chamber, and the only thing you had to have left to do was pull the trigger. People called him anti-gun. People called him a sleazy Pelosi politician. He's got the same haircut as she does, but other than that, he's a good guy. You want me to get closer? Most people want me to shut up. Oh. Can you hear me now? You know, I'm supposed to have this out when I say that, right? So really what we're here for today is a good thing. We're backing Senator Avad's bill. We're backing anybody who has the guts to stand up when the anti-gun people come out claiming to be pro-gun and attack the people who are standing up for your rights. It's not just this time. It happens on a constant basis. I will tell you that in Senate Bill 12, people we thought were on our side, Senate Bill 12 is constitutional carry. Something we had fought for a long time, something that this governor said, you're going to get it this time. But we had people who supposedly are on our side try to cut a deal with the police chief saying, geez, can't you come out against it a little harder? I'll give you all the info. And somebody else who was a member here who said, this isn't the right bill. It's just not good enough. We finally got it signed. And as you all know, we actually enjoy the rights that we always had and somebody thought we weren't good enough to use. I could constantly stand here, I could stand here and constantly speak, but I won't because there's better people behind me. But I'll echo the words of Senator Avad. Please take somebody with you to vote. Please vote. The reason why we're losing is we're so busy working and so tired after work that we think maybe somebody else will take care of it for us. Well, the somebody else that's taking care of it doesn't like us. They'll never like us. And they won't be happy until we're disarmed and unable to stop a socialist agenda that none of us, especially our forefathers, ever asked for. Now, like Susan, on my mother's side, I'm related to some great people who fought against the British. On my father's side, I'm also related to people who fought the British. My mother's side was here in America, they won. My father's side was in Ireland, they still haven't won. But they're still trying. And that's what I want to bestow upon everybody. If we keep trying and never give up, they can't beat us. If we stand together, shoulder to shoulder, they can't beat us. They didn't beat us on Senate Bill 12, Constitution Carry. They didn't beat us on Senate Bill 500. And I ask you to keep giving the elected officials that boost. Send that letter of approval. Because without your letter of approval, all they get is letters telling them how much they're hated. So let's help the reps, let's help the senators, and help me get my job done. Thank you very much for coming out. Thanks for having me. Can everybody say cheese? Cheese! Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
We met once before, one time ago. I don't know if you remember me. I do. My name's Roland. Good speech. Thank you, sir.
Remember, at the end of this today, we all get up on the steps and we take a picture of ourselves. Send to the legislature to let them know that, yeah, we're here. There's a lot of us, and you need to pay attention. So I'm going to move on to our next guest here today. Someone else who's never spoken at one of these rallies, and somebody that many of you may not, you may have heard about her, but you've not met her in person. Forget who was it, maybe it was, forget who it was, but you guys know the movie Sullivan, right? The pilot, the miracle that he performed with courage and clear eyes and no fear. and full confidence in himself. Well, we kind of have a female version of that here. Our Sully is named Victoria Sullivan. She's a second-term state rep serving in the House Education Committee, which is a horrible, horrible assignment. The people are from Pluto and Mars. I don't know where they come from, but by the grace of God, Victoria Sullivan has served on that committee and has stood fast. She's also, in a testament to our House leadership, an assistant majority leader. Her commitment to the state began because she was, and these are her words, a pissed off PTA mom who wanted to bring the voice of the parents to the New Hampshire legislature. She's also a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. She's a member of the Women's Defense League, quite a crack shot, I might say. She fights for her children. She teaches them that the fight for liberty is one that cannot be left to any generation, ours, theirs, or the next, but is one each generation will have to continue. Miss Sullivan, would you please come up and speak to us?
Geez, I hope we can live up to all that. Okay, thank you, Miss Susan. Last year, we were here celebrating our historic victory in passing constitutional carry and removing the discriminatory barriers to self-protection that had too long been a part of the New Hampshire legislation. That victory has really angered those that don't like the Second Amendment. They have taken every opportunity to chip away at the constitutional carry, as recently as this week right here in Representatives Hall. They use the unspeakable acts of violence against our children as an impetus to disarm us and keep us from protecting our own. If the horrific events at Parkland have taught us anything, it's that we are our own first responders. The people that vowed to serve and protect that town let that community and those kids down at every single turn. Now, I know there are good men and women in blue that would have run into that building, but they were not in Parkland that day. Even the best, most heroic officers need time to get to the scene to assess the situation before they can help. The Parkland massacre was over 6 minutes. It was over in 6 minutes from the time the killer left the building, entered the building until he left the grounds. I got into a little bit of trouble this week when I tweeted out a reminder that people with evil intentions will use our children to convince us to give up our liberties for their own protection. Is that exactly what we're seeing now? I cannot remember a time when our Second Amendment right was under attack as much as it is right now. I cannot remember when our elected Republican officials were so open to the conversation of compromise on our right to bear arms. Make no mistake, New Hampshire and the other states with strong Second Amendment support will be the battleground in the elections this year and in 2020. I've had people from Massachusetts state publicly that they're investing money to make sure they take out Second Amendment supporters in our legislation. Kimberly Warren, who's our social media advocate out there, has seen these tweets and social media responses as well. They blame us for the illegal use of firearms in their own state. Our rights are constantly under attack. We need to continue to support each other, stand together in order to keep all that we have fought for, and maintain the God-given, constitutionally protected right to bear arms. For the protection of our families, our individual protection, and for the protection of our ever-eroding liberties. Thank you.
You're here. We've got a lot of kids here today, which which I think
Turned him in Oakland Army base. Can't hear you.
you wish. I don't know, it's working. We've got an awful lot of kids here. Where are they? Are they playing in the snow? As kids should. But you know what? This is why we're here, right? Where's Miss Tabitha? She in a warming tent? Itty bitty little girl in pink camo with ears. We got these guys. But this is what this is about, right? Can you imagine 250 years ago, Representative, if you had to make the choice to leave your wife and your kids and your family and pray to God that they're safe while you go off and fight. How does that happen? Where do people find that courage? Where do people find that sort of faith and strength and trust? So, young man, we are delighted you're here. You are very fortunate for her to be your mother, and I'm going to be watching.
They're crack shots, too.
I know. Yes, they are. So, gentlemen, sorry to embarrass you, but I think it's important that people know you're here. So, thanks. All right. It's cold, but it's not as cold as last year. We have another first-time speaker, I think, this year. Jesus, this is making it crazy. Go in the middle. Go in the middle. I can do the middle. Another speaker who I don't think has ever spoken here before at one of these, but has attended. Her name, another member of the Women's Defense League, is Lisa Freeman. Woohoo! She was born and raised in Boston to a large and loving Italian family who are always grateful for being American citizens, offering up nine of their 16 children to fight in World War II. Lisa was not raised with guns in the household, mostly because she lived in Massachusetts, but had it not been for her husband, who was then her boyfriend, she may have followed the liberal agenda around gun control and a fear of firearms. After many years of watching her home state of Massachusetts fall prey to a socialist dialogue that only included one liberal view, and further witnessing a once proud, largely blue-collar state become a mini-socialist model, Lisa, her husband Neil, and their 4-year-old son Cole, who's like this now, he's right back here, became political refugees and fled to the live free or die state. Let's fast forward 16 years. After watching the very liberal agenda, her and her family thought they'd escaped, and being very involved with her son's education, Lisa ran for the school board in Manchester. You're nuts. But she ran for the school board in Manchester after the oppressive and disastrous implementation of Common Core. While on the school board and fighting for conservative and parental rights, Lisa made the decision to run for state representative in District 12. After 4 years, and is this true? A Democratic state representative was not in attendance, never showed up, got reelected, never showed up once to the State House. Oh, okay, well then twice for the second term, right? So it came twice. Okay. Now, nearing the end of her first term, Lisa has decided to embark on another term. Thank you very much. Well, she does reside in a very Democrat ward, upholding people's freedoms, their abilities to make their own decisions for themselves and their children, less government involvement, maintaining our Second Amendment rights. And here they are. Oh my goodness. Local control, resident-only voting, and protecting the unborn will remain her platform and the standards which she will support, by which she will support legislation. Please welcome Miss Lisa Freeman. Nice girls.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. So, as you know, I am am Representative Lisa Freeman, and yes, I do hail from Boston, Massachusetts. Do not hold that against me, and don't make fun of my accent. How's that? Yeah, don't hold my Boston upbringing against me. I was fortunate enough 25 years ago to meet a man who definitely turned me around as far as guns go. Of course, I had to snare him, and the way I did is I told him that I had gone hunting once. I'd never been hunting, I never held a gun. Never even knew what it was supposed to do. So I snared him, and off we go. We're going pheasant hunting. Shh, be very, very quiet. So we traipse through the cranberry bogs, and I get my boots stuck as usual. But the one thing that happened that day that really resonated with me was what he did. And what he did is he took me aside for 20 minutes and explained everything to me about a 12-gauge shotgun. Showed me how to load it. He showed me how to use it. He showed me everything that I needed to know in that particular moment on what a firearm is for and what not to fear about it. And I've never turned back. Of course, I did shoot that 12-gauge that day, and I did kill an already dead tree. But again, there was no going back. So in 1998, when we did move up here, 1998 was a pivotal year in Massachusetts because they had just legislated the most oppressive gun laws in Massachusetts. And that is when we really decided that it was time, and here we are. This same agenda is now leaking into this beloved New Hampshire, and I'm not ready to give up. I don't know about any of you. It is not an option for anyone to think it's okay to take away yours, mine, and ours constitutionally granted Second Amendment rights. And I will fight, and you can take me to the bank on that. We have raised our now 23-year-old son to do nothing but respect firearms and see what they are for. They are for your protection, to protect you, your family, and your homestead. And no one has a right to take that away from you. No one. So again, I did learn it was, a gun was a tool to put food in a game bag. But in the greatest sense, it is a tool to protect the rarest of all human history, our freedom. Without those guns, there is nothing to say that we will not be overrun. So in conclusion, and I like to keep things brief, with all the gun barriers now that the liberals are trying to throw up in front of us, and they're even doing it in our schools, we have to stick together. Gun-free zones are not an option in our schools. That will just lead to a gun-free zone massacre. As Ben Franklin said, those that would sacrifice a little freedom for a little safety deserve neither. I want to thank you. God bless you. God bless New Hampshire, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Ms. Lisa. We're glad you're on it again. And for those of you who are here for the first, how many first-timers have we got here this year? A lot. This is great. We're so pleased you're here. But we don't want you to be surprised that the majority of our speakers are women, because we are the Women's Defense League. So I'd like to bring up our next female speaker, who happens to be the chair of the Women's Defense League, which is kind of a cool title, but behind that cool title is an extraordinarily cool woman. Michelle, her husband, and 3 children came to New Hampshire, what year? 2005. So they're even newer than I am. My husband and I came here in 2000. And they came here for the promise of freedom and liberty that New Hampshire offered. She homeschooled her 3 children. One just graduated last year, May. 2 are sophomores, engineering students. Miss Margaret her daughter is a member of the Women's Defense League, and at 18 she was able to take a full membership. She's a fine, fine shot, Miss Margaret, and she's home. I'm sorry she's not here today. But Michelle does a bunch of other things besides raise really good kids and support our values. She runs an organization called School Choice for New Hampshire. Who's heard of that? And School Choice of New Hampshire is a neat name for an organization that believes that parents have the right, nay, the obligation, to raise their children with a sound foundation of values, of beliefs, of classics, of math, of science, of discipline, and even of wonder. You don't get that in public schools these days, and Michelle, after getting her 3 off successfully to school, now leads the fight in Concord with an army of men and women behind her, supporting her. So there's lots of reasons that you should know Michelle Lavelle, not the least of which is she's the chairman of the Women's Defense League. Please, Michelle, welcome.
I guess I am that short. Thank you very much for that very warm reception. And I want to really, I'm so excited to see so many people here. This is a beautiful, beautiful day. What I want to talk to you about today is far more serious though. So following a major tragic event, there's another period of danger. It is when people run around like Chicken Littles saying, we must do something. But what is that something? It is a normal human reaction to try to analyze those factors and figure out how to address it so those tragedies never happen again. However, all too often, we have knee-jerk responses that feel good, but don't truly address the underlying problems. This is security theater. It is extremely dangerous and puts more people in harm's way. It gives us a false sense that we're safer because XYZ action was taken, but it can jeopardize even more people than the original event. Let me give you an example. In 1990, then Senator Joe Biden created the Gun-Free Zone Act that prohibits unauthorized people from bringing firearms onto school property.
I know.
This
I didn't think it was going to be this
sounds reasonable. We want to protect our children, but it is a false sense of security. We all know that a sticker on a door that indicates no guns allowed does absolutely nothing to restrain someone intent on doing harm. In fact, 98% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones, according to Crime Prevention Research Center. These gun-free zones are not a deterrent and in fact put more people at risk. Why don't we protect our children in a more effective manner? Why do we allow them to be so vulnerable? Clearly, gun-free zones are a failed, feel-good, and failed response. In contrast, people are safer where would-be bad guys do not know if potential victims are able to defend themselves. This is why New Hampshire is consistently among the very safest states in our country. According to Crime Prevention Research Center, just over 1% of shootings since 1950 have happened in areas not considered gun-free zones, where law-abiding people can carry firearms. We have to ask ourselves if our quick responses to tragedies will protect more people or put them at risk. And I argue that all too often these feel-good, do-nothing practices, policies, and politics put them in harm's way. This is why I am so concerned about recent efforts to restrict gun purchases and ownership by adults under the age of 21. This is more security theater. It's a horrible response to horrific events in Parkland just a few weeks ago when an expelled student targeted fellow students. Prohibiting young adults from owning firearms would not have stopped that troubled youth. That tragedy was a failure of government. There were multiple warning signs ignored by the FBI, local police, and even school officials. Adding another gun control law would not have prevented that horrible event. Raising the age to purchase and own firearms is discriminatory to our young adults who have done nothing wrong, yet it is being considered by the President and Congress, as well as several state legislatures. As was already mentioned earlier this week, New Hampshire House Minority Leader Steve Shurtleff and Representative Lee Ockenham asked to suspend House rules to introduce a bill that would have banned the sale of any firearm to people under the age of 21 and to ban bump stocks. Very fortunately, that effort was stopped immediately by Second Amendment supporters in the New Hampshire House of Representatives. Unfortunately, as many of you have probably heard, yesterday, Governor of Florida signed a similar bill that was rushed through their legislature. I wonder if it will hold up to constitutional review. And we know of similar bills being introduced in other states. Our young adults, like all people, have the right to self-defense. They have a right to protect themselves that cannot be compromised just because of their age. These same young adults can be conscripted to fight for our country. These same young adults may live in rural communities where there are long response times from emergency personnel, or there may be no police officers at all. So what are we to do? What is the responsible reaction to these horrible events? I'll give you a hint. This is where we come into this, folks. It is our job to be the responsible gun owners, to be vigilant against security theater efforts, and to talk with our family, friends, and neighbors. Let your family and friends know about the new training you've taken to be a better, more responsible gun owner. Be an approachable example to them. Demystify gun ownership. Invite them to the range. Let them know that good guys are gun owners. Get involved in protecting your Second Amendment rights. Attending this rally today is absolutely a fabulous thing to do, but it's not enough. Write to your legislators when important bills and policies are debated, and encourage your gunny friends to do the same. Politicians will always try to tell us what we can and cannot do with our natural rights. But it's up to us to protect them. And yes, folks, elections do matter.
Oh, absolutely.
More than ever. Do not forget that. Finally, share your love of our constitutional rights with the young people in your life. They are the hope of our future. We lose absolutely everything if our rights end with us. We have a responsibility to the next generation and the next. It is up to us, not the government, not politicians, to ensure we have the means to defend ourselves. It's our responsibility. We are the first responders to ensure our safety and our rights. Thank you.
That's why she's the boss. She is the boss. She is the boss. We've got a little departure here. In fact, we've got so many people here today that we're going to ask you to please move forward. The speakers are working overtime. And if we can sort of, where do you want everybody? Well, I can do that, but also Maddie says we need to come as close to the steps as possible. And we're going to take the picture afterwards anyway, right? So if you don't mind, instead of sort of standing back, come on up closer, get to know us, meet the speakers, and we'll proceed. And even though I said again that I wasn't going to talk about politics or elections, I changed my mind again. I want to reintroduce the woman who possesses that glorious voice. You heard sing the national anthem this morning, Miss Jane Cormier, who's a dear friend of mine, has been for years, and who has, as she is wont to do, sacrificed her own safety, her own positions, her good part of her life, and actually engage in the fight one more time. And Jane, if you'd like to come up here, I'll give you guys a little bit of background. She's another refugee from Massachusetts. She's mom, she's an opera singer, she's a music teacher. She's an inspiration to many, to me certainly. Spent a year in the House, which was more than enough. I don't know how you did it for 2 years anyway. She's been the choral director at Founders Academy, a public charter school. Charter school, folks, remember that. Charter school, school choice in Manchester. She's an ardent supporter. She's a damn fine shot. She's been active in the education communities throughout New Hampshire about the empowerment of bureaucratic agencies like regional planning commissions and folks like that. The impact, the negative impact of Common Core on our students and the New Hampshire educational system. She's right on the front lines in the school district. So Jane, take a minute. Tell us what you're going to do.
Okay.
Jane Cormier.
Oh my goodness, it has been a few years since I've been here to be able to speak to what I think is probably the most well-versed, educated folks on our constitutional natural rights. And to be here with you today is thrilling. I took a little bit of break because I took on 3 years ago the president position of New Hampshire Right to Life, and that was a big mission, and I felt that it was important to focus entirely on that. And my 3-year term ended in December, and I since then have decided, okay, what can I possibly do to keep going with being a voice for liberty here in New Hampshire? Because although the federal liberty is important, I believe the power lies in the states. And the more we empower our state to stand up for what is right and for our New Hampshire Constitution, the better we will be. So I'm going to quickly, I won't be long because you guys are freezing. I know I am. A few years ago, I first met Miss Susan when I poked my head out of a foxhole, and after being an opera singer and a music educator, I started to get interested in politics, and I ran in Belknap District 8. While I was running, I was trying to figure out how I was going to get this all together because I was new. I was a real newbie. And I got a phone call. I had just met Susan. She knows nothing about this. She's saying, what the heck is she talking about now? I just had met Susan at a gun event. And she had given my name to somebody at the National CPAC group, and they had offered her a free trip to go to CPAC. She declined the trip, and she gave them my name. And I have to tell you, I will never, ever forget that, because I am not sure I would be standing here. I don't think I would be the same person that I am right now if Susan Olsen had not thought of me to take that trip, because it changed my life. I saw what it was like to be around like-minded folks who understood God and country, who understood that that is important. And we can never, ever walk that back. We should never walk that back. So, Susan Olsen, till I die, you will be one of the most important people I have ever met, and thank you for caring enough to help me on my journey, personally. So I just want to say that. All right, so I know that this might be a little off the track, but I have a big announcement, and my announcement is that I am going to jump into the Executive Council race for District 4. Yes. Now, everybody here, I'm sure, knows what the Executive Council does, right? I'll tell you, one of the most important things that my job is going to be is to go out there and educate folks to how important that job is. We have a unique and powerful, Executive Council, which is a firewall, working within the executive branch with the governor to ensure that we approve what I call New Hampshire first. New Hampshire first. Isn't that a lovely thought? Yes. I think somebody else thought of that first. He's now president, talking about America first, and it worked for him, so hey, why reinvent the wheel? New Hampshire first. So, what we're going to do here is that I do have some folks helping me, and they're going to give you cards. Because make no mistake, I was called last 2 weeks, I've been asked by media whether or not I was going to run for something, because they kind of heard, woo, buzz. So now they're going to call some more. But I'll tell you what, $5.2 billion flows in front of the Executive Council approval. Don't you think that those 5 people aren't very important? Because if we can get 3 of the 5 that will support New Hampshire first, we all win. We all win. Okay, so quickly, along with approving State Department agencies and all contracts over $10,000, the EC approved spending $5.2 billion of your tax dollars, of my tax dollars. That's what we look over. The EC approves the appointment of judges and commissioners. Think about that, folks, how important that is. Do they support the New Hampshire Constitution? Because if they don't, there shouldn't be a New Hampshire sitting judge. It's very simple. We have to understand that the EC is the council plays a vital role in state infrastructure. We oversee the 10-year highway plan, very important, and this comes from the definition of the Executive Council on its own website. You're going to love this. The EC, by its very nature, serves as the watchdog of the state treasury, ensuring our executive branch is fiscally conservative and above reproach. Think about those words. We have lost those words. That's its own definition. Can you imagine? Above reproach. Make no mistake, the Executive Council is responsible to the citizens of New Hampshire and not the special interest groups coming looking for New Hampshire dollars. The watchdogs of the EC are constitutional conservatives overseeing the EC. This stands as a guard as the eyes and ears for its New Hampshire citizens, and it is imperative, folks. We have an opportunity we might not see again. If we can win 3 of the 5 seats for sitting executive council members, we can make meaningful change here in New Hampshire. So we're in full steam, and it doesn't matter if 6 people jump into that seat to primary me. I am not moving. I am running all the way to the end. And yeah, well, we're going to need help to do it, because I'll tell you what, it's David and Goliath, folks, up close and personal. Make no mistake, they are not going to want to fund someone who will stand by what they believe. Why am I saying that? Because I need you. And they ignore you at their own peril. That's what Trump taught us. Let's learn the lesson. We won because we decided who was going to win that election. And there's no amount of money that can overtake that. So we have cards here right now, little bitty cards. And these cards have the 19 communities that are in the Executive Council District 4. If you know of anyone, if you want to help the campaign, you just go right on that website and you sign up. You'll become part of a newsletter. I will stay in touch with you with what's happening. But guys, we can win this seat. Manchester is in there. That's going to be my job. But all those other districts run Republican. All those other communities run red. We got to get them out. And every time you hear someone say, you get someone and you get a friend
really
to that
cold
voting
here.
booth. No. You get 5. You get 10. You get people to vote the way you feel we need to have social. We need to have social change. We need to have fiscal conservative change. That's the most
Try to like move around, get my blood
New
flowing.
Hampshire first. You've got to get people out to vote. So you take these cards, sign up. Okay, I'm very accessible. I'm in this area. Call me. Get in touch with our campaign. We need your help. And I want to thank you again for coming out, and I want to thank Susan and Bernice Vincent for having this event and for being the place that I actually
Early 90s.
So I guess you guys know we got a lot of showing. Jane, that's terrific. Good job, thank you. Before we bring up our star this afternoon, a couple of things I want to talk about. We got here late. We are wrapping off.
You don't tell them anything.
So here on the page, tickets are what? $10, 25, is that it? We're going to pull that ticket today. Somebody is going to win that shot. Yay. And then whoever wins it, we will meet them at Wildlife Conservation. John, you, are you here? John? Randy's here? Great. Randy? There you are. Hey, Randy. These guys are so generous. You pull that ticket. The point is that whoever wins this shot will meet down at Randy's. Down there. We follow the law. There's a difference between us and we are law-abiding. We also is rusty glory flags here. Over your head, Missy, please. Your name's like Vanna White. Our own Vanna White. These spectacular homemade, handcrafted American flags, generously donated by 3% of the national community. Tickets are how much? $1 a piece or $65? We have a team that drove that today. We have a couple other things on there in the golf. I don't know exactly what. But take a minute. Make sure you signed up if you're interested in winning any of those. Make sure that you do not leave early because we take our family photograph at the end. We all climb up on the steps and scooch in together as tight as we can. Take a big couple of photographs just into the legislature. So while you're getting the last few tickets, I'm going to start the introduction for our last speaker here today, who's a very private person. Nobody knows her. Nobody recognizes her wherever she goes. Another Massachusetts refugee, shockingly, an accountant by training, which I think, though, has focused her mind, her precision, her ability to delve into something and take it apart to its smallest pieces and understand how it works. I think it's gone a long way. Miss Kimberly Mullins, I met, woohoo, is right, 4 years ago here, is that right? First time.
Yeah, no.
I started seeing her on social media going, who is this woman with this mouth? My God. I thought I had one. But Kimberly has given me more than a run for my money. She's become a leading voice.
I'm really sorry if my hands have been shaking because it's really cold.
Crusader, fearless investigator, fearless journalist, taking on any side, all sides, it doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. If you're doing something wrong, if you're doing something crazy, if you're doing something that doesn't help New Hampshire, it's all over you guys. I was waiting for my daughter. I would like to if I had a daughter, I would
How y'all doing? It's been a long month for last. It's awesome to see so many of you here today. And I love seeing all the familiar faces and all the new faces. This is great. It's all so great that it's not cold like it was last year. This is our 4th year holding this rally. It was planned back in January, but the unfortunate timing has once again seeing all law-abiding citizens be blamed for the actions of a psychopathic murderer. One who the government could have stopped multiple times, but chose not to. The same government that now wants to put gun control laws into effect that only hurt law-abiding citizens from practicing our fundamental human right of self-defense against psychopathic murderers. Of course, those on the other side will tell you, oh, we don't really want to ban guns. We don't want to get rid of the Second Amendment. All while they're screaming to ban guns and repeal the Second Amendment. Maggie Haston's spokesman admitted a couple years ago that she wants to ban all semi-automatic rifles. Jean Shaheen said that anybody who buys an AR-15 is only doing it because they want to do bad things. New Hampshire's North Country nitwit Senator Jeff Woodburn said people who buy bump stocks buy them to more efficiently kill people. Then there's Steve Marchand, a Democrat hack rodeo clown running for governor who claims he wants gun reform, but actually wants gun control and wants to ban all AR-15s. All you people carrying them today, you're banned. Last week in the House, Democrats tried to change House rules so they could introduce legislation that would ban Granite State 18 to 20-year-olds from purchasing rifles. Thankfully, their efforts were shot down, pun intended. And the list goes on and on. In Florida, they took away the Second Amendment rights of 18 to 20-year-olds to purchase rifles. They blamed all 18 to 20-year-olds for the actions of one 19-year-old psychopath. And what's worse, most mass killers are over 21. Whoops. Can you hear me now? So, this ban doesn't even affect those people. But guess what? Most people didn't blink an eye. Why? Because this doesn't affect anybody who's over 21. Anybody who's over 20. This is a problem. When you remain silent as the government erodes the rights of one group, you must remember they will eventually come for your group's rights. This is historically how it works everywhere around the world. It is not history that's worth repeating. Silence is complicity. Why do you think the antis, after any horrific event, instantly dip their hands in the blood of dead children to point them at all law-abiding gun owners? They certainly don't care about the safety of children. If they did, they wouldn't leave them as sitting ducks in gun-free zones. We have armed guards at banks, courthouses, state houses, and Congress, but not to protect our most precious citizens? Over 98% of shootings happen in gun-free zones. Why in the hell are we continuing to allow our children to be in these places?
Right.
Sorry, I've been sick. Thousands of children die in car accidents every year, yet no one is clamoring to take the privilege of driving a 3,000-pound vehicle away from teenagers. Gun control addicts don't care about gun safety. They care about control. And that's why they blame all of us for the actions of psychopaths who they enable by putting gun control laws into place like gun-free zones. Last night, I happened upon a meme by a wonderful Second Amendment activist named Oleg Volk. Not only is he an activist, but he's one hell of an amazing photographer. And he uses his skills to spread messages, pro-Second Amendment messages. This is the one I found last night. Collective responsibility is a fascist concept. I will not be held responsible for misdeeds committed by people who look like me or with guns like mine, nor for any actions of other people. I am responsible for my own actions. Last year at this same rally, we celebrated victory for finally having a governor who signed constitutional carry into law. Woo! Sorry, I can't do that. I also reminded you to also be vigilant because the antis never stop. And true to form, they tried to push more gun control legislation this year. Their efforts, as always, were thwarted. Now, though, more than ever, we must be vigilant. Thank you. We can't be weary. Many of you know that I fled Massachusetts because one day I woke up and wanted to protect myself and found out that my Second Amendment rights were mostly gone. They slowly chipped away at those rights in the name of safety and compromise until there were almost none left. They compromised my Second Amendment rights and my safety. And make no mistake, if Democrats were to gain control of the House, Senate, and governor's office again, they will do the exact same thing. It's how they roll. Sorry. I realize it can be exhausting to have to constantly fight for your God-given or naturally given right to self-defense. I understand we all get tired of being patient, having to explain to those who are intentionally uninformed that we aren't guilty of any crimes, and that their gun control does nothing but enable criminals while hurting law-abiding citizens who want to protect ourselves and our families from criminals. Because our founding fathers fought for our right to bear arms, people before us today fought to keep our rights intact, and hopefully there will be more people after us who continue to fight for freedom. One of my favorite quotes of all time, one that keeps me going when I think I just need a break, I can't take these lunatics anymore. A quote that I want all of you to remember. It's better to fight for something than live for nothing. Sometimes I do. Thank you. I save her for last. This is terrific. I'm so happy to see all of you here. Before we pull the tickets for the shotgun, I want to acknowledge a number of folks who are here today who took time out of their day, paid their own gas, bought their own lunch, bought their own gear to show up here and support this effort. I want to acknowledge Steve McDonald, Mike Rogers, Skip Murphy with Granite Rock, our sound man, our graphic artist, Maddie McMillan. Thank you very much, Maddie. I want to acknowledge my brothers and sisters of New Hampshire 3%. Representing the 3% who stood and fought among the 3 million that lived in this country before it became a country. So 3%, love you guys. Patriots Mutual Assistance Guard, all the way in from Ren. And believe it or not, you could have knocked me down with a feather. The New Hampshire GOP showed up at the table. Joe, are you still over there? We're glad you're here. Now there's a lot of elected officials here, a lot of candidates here. I know that Steve and Granite Rock would love to talk with each and every one of you, but what we're going to do first is everybody's going to come up on the steps and we're going to take our family photographs. So, get the kids are going to be down in front. Ladies and gentlemen, let's climb up on these steps, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for family photo. Just want to take a second. If you guys have any pictures or video of today, send them to americawithliberty@yahoo.com, and I'll see if I can compile everything into a nice video. americawithliberty.com, at yahoo.com. Guys over here, just be careful of that cable, okay? I don't want anybody falling down.
I gotta get the footage.
Action.
Sorry.
This is definitely everyone.
Oh, come on. All right, all right.
Are you the one taking the picture?
Oh, no, no. I'm
sorry.
the only one.
Seriously, when I look at you guys, thank you so much for coming out here today. Let's do it for yourselves, guys.
Aww.
One grenade gets you goal. Oh, you know it's coming. Wow, look at this. You guys gotta be loud, all right?
I don't want to be in the picture, but I'm live streaming. Oh, that's funny.
One, two, three.
I'll do some interviews. Looks like a good person to interview. Hi, how are you? Pretty good. Good. So what brings you out here? I'm live streaming right now. I have about 100 people watching for a news page. I'd like to just ask you a couple questions.
Gotta be one in the crowd to show support.
Show support, yep. One in the crowd. Okay. So, what do you think? Recently in New Hampshire, they shot down the House shot down the bill to ban firearms for 18 to 21-year-olds and the bump stocks.
I'm not super surprised. New Hampshire is a pretty gun friendly state. It's not Massachusetts. It's not the rest of the country. So I'm more worried about what's going to happen at the federal level than what's going to happen at the New Hampshire level.
At the federal level, what do you think is going to happen at the federal level?
Who the hell knows?
Yeah. So how long have you been in New Hampshire?
Since 2009.
2009. Where were you before that?
Massachusetts.
Oh, goodness. So I've noticed there's a lot of Massachusetts refugees, they call them.
Yeah, for good reason.
So did you come to New Hampshire specifically because it was more gun lax than Massachusetts?
It was a very good reason, but not the only reason.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. Seemed like you guys had a good turnout. We'll go get some more interviews. Let's see what else we got over here. Interview some people with some guns.
Hey, it wasn't like last year. Last year,
like zero. I'll message you to remind you.
Okay. Where did she go?
I'm waiting to see if I got my shot.
What's up, buddy? Want to do an interview?
What's that?
I'm live streaming right now, and I got 150 people watching. So you want to like answer a few questions?
Sure.
So what brings you out here today?
Out here, it's a civil rights demonstration.
Yeah, civil rights. Okay. So were you here last year?
Not last year, but I was here the 2 years prior to that.
Now, I noticed there's a lot of Massachusetts refugees here today. Are you one of them?
A lot of what?
Massachusetts refugees, they call them.
No, I actually moved here from California in '94.
From California. Now, is it, I take it it's a lot different here as far as like gun laws than California, right?
Significantly different.
No,
it's also a lot safer because we have a lot fewer laws.
So is California, from what I've gathered, is kind of similar to Massachusetts as far as gun laws?
Similar, yes.
Similar.
Very similar.
Now, what are the gun laws out in California from when you were out there?
Well, when I was there?
Yeah. Like, how does it differ from here in New Hampshire?
So, I moved here in '94. It was the same year the federal assault weapon ban went into place. It was actually a bill. It was the biggest prison expansion in history of the world. Designed mostly for minorities and blacks. And they sold the assault weapon ban, which did nothing to violence. Following that, California kept that on the books. Then they started, that's what liberals always do. They keep picking and picking away. They restricted the size of magazines. They made it so you couldn't take magazines out of your gun. Then they made it so you couldn't even get the magazine out even with a tool. This year they've added even more restrictions.
In California?
California, yet we still see things like San Bernardino happening. Los Angeles, which is literally the word that Trump was accused of using that begins with an S, describes Los Angeles now if anybody goes and looks through there. They've wasted money on gun control.
Yeah, this is live stream, so you don't have to worry. There's no censorship.
No, well, Los Angeles is a shithole. I'm not there. It is a shithole.
That's funny.
It's super unfortunate.
Yeah.
They have a state senator. If you look, Kevin D. Leon, he is the president of the California Senate and running for senator in the United States. If you Google his name and ghost gun, make sure you don't have food in your mouth because you'll spit it out laughing. They unfortunately, people who don't own guns want to regulate them because they don't understand them there. New Hampshire, guns are important to us. We don't regulate them here. We have so much else to worry about. I have 2 kids. I'd much rather focus on fishing with them right now, but the left decided to attack our rights to keep guns.
Get a quick picture.
You have 200 live watchers right now.
Oh, good.
So you're growing the crowd.
Right on.
So is there anything else you'd like to say to people if they want to learn more about you, what you stand for? Are you part of any organization? Or?
I'm not part of any organization. I'm just a New Hampshire resident.
Here to show support for the Second Amendment.
Yep, I believe in it. All the human rights, including the right to self-defense.
Perfect. Thank you for your time. I'm going to kind of we'll get some more interviews. Thanks. I really want to find those ladies with guns.
Like I said, I joined in when it was active.
Okay, no, not a problem. I just international Women's Day the other day. Alright, she doesn't want to interview. How about you guys? Would you guys do an interview?
No, probably not.
No? Okay. Thanks anyway, guys. So not everybody likes doing interviews, but some people like to get their thoughts out there. luck of the draw. I'm just live streaming for News to Share. It's an independent media production page. So there's 250 people watching. If you want to maybe say a couple words, if you're part of an organization, want people to learn more, that kind of thing.
Pretty much, if you want to keep your guns and you watch the rights, you got to stand up and do something about it. You can't just sit behind a keyboard. You got to get out. You got to be present at these events. You know, you can talk about it as much as you want, but actions speak louder than words. And you just got to stick with your Second Amendment right. You know, it is what it is.
All your rights.
Yeah, all your rights, exactly. Let me clarify, all your rights. Yeah. It's simple as that.
Are there any like upcoming events maybe that you know about that are, you know, stuff where people can get involved?
There's all sorts. Go right online on Facebook, on any social media. You wanna start getting back to your community. Go right online, and you know where do you want to start?
Put in Second 2A. Type in 2A in social media, and all the groups that believe in Second Amendment rights will pop up.
3%ers, New Hampshire Liberty Corps,
Women's Defense League. Defensive Shield. Yeah. Most gun organizations have some kind of thing together.
Women. Most what?
Most of the gun rights groups have a presence on social media.
Awesome. So you heard it here.
Absolutely. It's all about being a doer. You know?
Being a doer. Yeah. So the bill here in New Hampshire just got shot down there, the 18 to 21. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did that bill get submitted prior to the event that kind of prompted the gun control debate? Because don't the New Hampshire legislation have to get submitted by like September?
Every year.
So
they're always going to keep putting more.
That bill to ban bump stocks in 18 to 21 year olds, was that already submitted prior to this recent shooting?
Yeah, that was from the Las Vegas incident.
Okay, from the Las Vegas. Oh, that was the concert, right?
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Every year they submit new bills, and there will always be gun control bills. Because one side does not believe we have the right to have guns. So they're always pushing, and they'll never stop pushing to take away your gun rights.
Yeah,
Because
gotcha.
they believe that the government and the police can protect you. And we saw in Florida that that's just not the case, and that's really not the case in 99% of scenarios. Police will not be there in time to protect you. It's up to you to protect yourself. It's always been that way, and it will always be there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. If you go to News to Share on Facebook, it's a live stream. I've covered the entire event. So we cover other events. We just show up, get everyone's 2 cents, and it's raw, it's uncut. So get out there. So you just had 230 people live.
You're a trooper. Let's go, yeah.
Oh, I'm freezing.
So, Randy, thank you for making this.
So it'll be interesting when I go to cover another event in a couple weeks in Boston. It's going to be like the other side to the fence. Hi, how are you? Good, how are you?
Good.
I'm live streaming. You want to do an interview?
Sure.
Sure.
What are you live streaming for?
News to Share. It's an independent media production company a friend of mine started, and he's covered a lot of events.
Oh, nice. Where are you guys based out of?
He actually lives in Washington, D.C., so
Oh,
he
wow.
covers a lot of the protests and stuff that go on outside of the Capitol.
How about you?
Me, I live right here in New Hampshire.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a live contributor. Hang on. A little too close. There we go. So you got like 227 people watching you right now, live. So is there anything you'd like to say? It's literally raw, uncut.
Just you gotta stand up for your rights, stand up for your freedom. You can't be afraid to take a stand. A lot of people like to go with the crowd. Be collectivist, just do what they think is, popular or safe. Is you have to take a stand and have belief in principles, and you have to stand firm with those principles. And that's what it's all about. And self-defense is pretty much the core right for any sovereign entity. If you can't defend yourself, you really have no other right. So you have to, hold that right more sacred than any other.
Awesome.
Where do you personally stand in regards to
Me?
self-defense?
Well, I try to remain objective here, but everybody, even any live viewers know I'm a Second Amendment supporter. My father personally is retired military, so it's just what I grew up.
Do you go shooting or do you carry at all?
I don't carry. I do go shooting. I have tons of friends and stuff like that. But,
nice.
Turned into an interview about me, but I try to just come and cover events like this. I'm actually going to be covering another event in a couple weeks in Boston, where it's the
enemy territory.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is with reporting, we want to cover both sides. And I know already here today, you know, somebody had mentioned like the media not doing their part, which is what I love about News to Share, is that we show up, we give everybody the opportunity to speak live to our viewers. You get to say what you got to say, you know what I mean? And it kind of gives people... That's, in my opinion, what journalism should be. It should be going, it shouldn't, you know, at the end of the day, my views on something doesn't trump somebody else's First Amendment right? So they could say something in opposition to me.
It's all about live and let live.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the principle that America was founded upon, the United States. A lot of people, they have personal core values that they believe in, which is fun. If you want to believe in communism, if you want to believe in being disarmed, it's when you want to coerce others into those beliefs that becomes very evil and immoral. It's like, live your life. If you want to group up with people who believe that way and live with those people, that's one thing. But when you try to coerce others to conform to your way of thinking, that's the great evil. So it's all about, you know, coercing the free will of others. Not self-determinism. So that's what's really at stake here. In terms of, that's what the foundation of freedom is about. You know, being a sentient, self-aware, you know, conscious entity.
Yeah.
Having self-determinism, being in control of your own destiny, being able to live and let live.
So what would you, if people want to learn more about how they can get involved with, you know, either you, like what you support, where can they go, that kind of thing, you know? Because I know a lot of people say you got to be a doer. So what would you advocate people do?
I'd look up two things. One is the philosophy of liberty. If you go to YouTube, do a search on the philosophy of liberty, and it's a quick 10-minute video on what the core principle of freedom is. And everyone as a conscious, sentient individual with free will. Nobody with free will enjoys having their free will aggressive.
Just to step back a little bit. There we go. That's okay. Keep going.
That's how you can inherently tell that that's an evil. Because even a thief, if you steal from other people, you don't like being stolen from yourself. If you murder others, you don't like being murdered yourself. An infringement on your free will is inherently recognized as something evil, something bad. So the philosophy of liberty on YouTube, if you look that up, it's a great little tutorial as to what exactly freedom is, what exactly self-determinism is, and it's a great primer. And then the second thing I'd have people look up is it's called The American Dream. It's about the Federal Reserve System and pretty much how a secret core cabal has hijacked the American government and the American people, and basically we pay them interest on money that we constitutionally have the authority to print for ourselves. But it's a very insidious, organization. If you look that up, it's called The American Dream. It's a quick 30-minute cartoon. You know, it's entertaining to watch. It's very well done. But it tells you a little bit about the Federal Reserve and how centralized money and private ownership of that centralized money has really helped enslave the United States. And that's really the core as to the degradation of the United States. And the communist and socialist takeover is kind of tied with that central bank takeover. So look up The American Dream and the Philosophy of Liberty. It'd be very informative for anyone who's interested in the philosophy of liberty, self-determinism, and just enjoying their sovereign, free will to their fullest.
My name's Heather. Heather Mullins, yeah.
Do you have a business card?
I don't have a business card, but you can go to the Facebook page and then you can watch your own live stream, your own little interview. And, yeah, the whole thing, I've been filming since the very beginning.
Heather Collins?
Heather Mullins.
Mullins.
Yeah, M-U-L-I-N-S. Yeah. What was your name?
My name is Michael Lupacino.
Awesome. Well, go like the Facebook page and share it with your friends.
You don't card for that organization?
I don't have a card, but you can literally, if you pull out your phone right now, right, go to the Facebook page, you can see yourself on the page. Okay? So type in news, like N-E-W-S, and then the number 2, and then share. He's gonna go look up the page right now. News to share?
Yep.
Did you find the Facebook page?
YourOnRadio.com. Yep, got it.
There's a Facebook page?
Yeah.
right, you're not watching it. You're gonna pull it up.
No, I don't have Facebook on this phone here. I don't like Facebook tied to my phone. I'll check it out on the desktop later.
All right, awesome. Well, it was nice talking to you. I'm gonna go get some more interviews.
Absolutely. See you around.
So this has been crazy. So I'm like super cold and I've been walking around here. I almost think that because I've been walking around with a camera that like some people are wondering like who I am, where I'm from, and so I'm almost getting like the third degree, if you know what I mean. But anyway, so they're very protective of their Second Amendment, and I'm gonna go get some more interviews. Let me get one more. Did I already interview you?
What's that?
Did I already interview you?
You did not.
No? Would you like to be interviewed?
What's the name of the site? Sure.
News to Share.
News to Share.
Yeah.
News to Share.
Yeah.
Okay.
I show up and I live stream events like this.
Awesome.
And I just kind of get a few words from the people that go as to why it's important so that our audience can like hear from you, you know.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it together.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to step over here a little bit away from the speakers?
All right, sure.
Woo.
So, what do you?
So, what brings you here, and why is this important to you?
Here to support our Second Amendment.
Second Amendment.
Absolutely.
Okay. And
in
so,
New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire. And so, is your priority like the Second Amendment here in New Hampshire, or you like advocate federally? You know what I mean? Because it seemed like here that it was a very like New Hampshire atmosphere.
Well,
are you originally from New Hampshire?
Yes.
Yes.
The
Okay.
Constitution is for the whole country, so I mean, ultimately it's for the whole country, but you know, let's start at the local level first, of course.
Okay. And so, let's see. Are you part of like an organization? Like, do you work within the State House and stuff with a lot of the state reps as far as...
We have a support page on Facebook is all
a support page?
Yeah.
And what's the support page where people can go to learn more?
It's New Hampshire Second Amendment support.
New Hampshire Second Amendment support.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you guys do exactly? Is it more for
well, it just started up like last week. So.
Yeah, it's new. We just started it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, awesome. And so what is your objective? Just to
support the Second Amendment, to talk about guns and bash liberals, that kind of thing.
To bash liberals.
Well, we just, after all the shootings and people talking about the bans and stuff, we just want to stick together and try to fight for what's right.
What are your thoughts on like all of the recent shootings in the media? Do you think it's
As far as what do I think?
Do you think that? Well, obviously with the recent shootings, what do you foresee happening? Let me put it that way.
I see the liberals trying to take our amendments away and chip away slowly until we have nothing or we're a bunch of sheep. But I feel that a lot of it has to do with the FBI not following through with all the different
reports that were made.
Yeah.
The same thing with that Air Force guy. I mean, he never. If you get dishonorably discharged from the military, like that right there, I'm pretty sure it's considered a felony as far as getting any kind of firearm. They never submitted their paperwork through the civilian side, so he was able to go down and buy an AR-15 or whatever it was that he used and get it legally because the military never did their job by pushing stuff through. So, and it's the same thing with like this one down in Florida. I mean, there was tons of reports that were made to the sheriff's department down there, the FBI, and none of them acted on it. So,
now, what do you think? Like, if anything, do you think should or could be done about a situation like this?
But yeah, as far as like stopping mass shootings from happening,
just because it is like up in, it's the public discussion. You know what I mean? And it seems like you can't even keep track of how many of these things happen. So, like, what, if anything, do you think?
The people that they don't understand is we already have laws against murder. So any law that you put forth isn't going to get You know, if their intention is to kill, then they don't really care about going to jail. So you can put as many laws as you want. I think a lot of it has to do with the mental health, the pharmaceutical industry, those kind of things are what's really the problem. It's not people owning guns, because Jim and I don't go out and shoot people for no reason, you know?
Yeah, I mean, how many people were here carrying guns?
No violence.
You know, a couple hundred people. Nobody got shot. You know, I came to one of these a couple years ago where we had a couple thousand people here. We were shoulder to shoulder all the way out to the road. And same thing, safest place in the state right here, you know? And nothing happened. So...
You look cold.
Oh, I'm freezing. I've been like literally holding this camera for hours. That's okay. No, I don't mind. Do you think were you guys at the one here last year? No. No? Okay, so I was kind of wondering if the turnout was any different. But this is mostly organized by like a women's march. So is there any other rallies similar to this?
Defense League, right?
Women's, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Which was interesting because it was International Women's Day. Like 2 days ago?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's a good little correlation. I wonder if it has, something to do with it.
Well,
I think
anyway.
all women should own.
Yeah, that's the beautiful part about firearms. It's an equalizer. You know, if you're carrying one of these, it doesn't matter whether you got some 6 foot tall dude, bodybuilder or whatever. I mean, this will put you down just the same.
Can I get the guns? Hang on, let's see this. What do we got here? Do you want to do like a explanation? Yeah, let's give our viewers a little. I don't know what is. I couldn't even tell you what that was.
Well, this is a SIG M400. I don't even know where to start. So it's a semi-auto sporting rifle. It's not full auto. It's only got one switch on the safety or the selector switch. So I don't know. Standard capacity, 30 round magazine. Standard capacity, not high capacity. I got a light on here so that way I can positively identify my target and hopefully hit him with the power of the sun and not have to shoot somebody. Because I'd really rather not have to deal with that. So if I have to kill somebody, I don't want to.
Now, what are the actual gun laws in New Hampshire right now? Like as far as like what it takes to go and purchase a firearm?
Background check. You have to fill out the paperwork showing your ID. They call the federal bureau and they check you.
So it's just a federal.
So you can like walk in and do the background check there and walk out, or does it take time?
It takes like sometimes 2 hours, sometimes half hour.
But it could be same day.
Yeah, there's no mandatory wait period in New Hampshire, not like what they're trying to put down in Florida and in California where it's like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For a waiting period before you get a gun.
Yeah, as long as your background's good. The only thing I think they could touch up on a little is the mental health end. A little deeper into the mental states, but
maybe have more public discourse on that, Just at least talk about it. All right, and what are you carrying over here?
This is M&P Sport 15 Pro, standard capacity, 30 rounds. I have a red dot. It's basically the same weapon as his. It's a sporting rifle is all it is. It's not a bad, evil, it's not.
It just looks like an M4. It doesn't actually function like one.
Exactly. It's designed after that, but it's not the same weapon in any way.
Nice. I don't know the difference between any of them, so I'm like clueless. But
they're both pretty much
they
the same
look
guns,
nice.
just made by different companies.
Gotcha.
So like the military, they use. I think Colt used to make the M4s for the Army. I think it's actually FN now is making them. So you have like all these different companies. They're all making pretty much the same gun. So they just all look the same.
Nice.
They function the same. I mean, really the main difference between an AR-15 and an M4 is this can't go on full auto. So she's put the same caliber around and everything. So
full auto means.
And that's another. The liberal people are saying fully semi-automatic. It's the same. It's you pull the trigger, it shoots once, just as fast as your finger can go. Automatic, you hold the finger down and go. That's the difference.
Now, are those legal or illegal? Those are still illegal, even in New Hampshire.
They're illegal to know. You have to get a license. That's a waiting list and all
there's
that.
What do they call it? They were banned in I think '96. So you can't own one that was made after '96. So you can't own like a newly manufactured full auto. But just to even get one, I mean, you're looking at like a minimum cost just for the gun itself, at like anywhere from like $10,000 to $20,000. So you can go buy a brand new car for less than it costs to go buy a full auto one of these. Not only that, but if they're old. Plus the licensing that you have to go through to get them through the federal government.
18-year-old kid ain't getting one of those.
Yeah, you're not. There's no way. You're gonna have to.
Unless he enlists.
Yeah, daddy's boy, rich.
Yeah, like
maybe, you know.
60-some-odd-year-old dude who's retired who just wants to go out and have fun in his backyard, you know?
It's almost like Chris Rock really said, if you make the bullets $10,000 each, nobody'll be shooting each other. That's what they did with the automatics, pretty much. You can't get them.
Yeah, we pretty much only, in New Hampshire, we pretty much only have any federal regulation. There's really minimal laws that we have against firearm ownership. So.
And we're one of the safest states.
Yeah, I think we're like, what, ranked number 4 in the country or something like that? I think
4 or 5.
Was it Vermont is right up there.
So if you look at the gun deaths in this state, it's the lowest. It's number 4 or 5 out of the whole thing. So
yeah,
we're doing pretty good up here.
Yeah.
And we have pretty lax laws.
Yeah, I'll say. You'd never get away with this in Massachusetts.
No, definitely not. I couldn't have this there. Can't have it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are outright banned in Mass.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Those exact ones are banned? Like,
sure they
completely
are.
illegal?
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, so most states, they have a list of guns that you can't own. Massachusetts has a list of guns that you're allowed to have. So it's a pretty short list. I'm pretty sure they just added like the Gen 4 Glocks onto that list like this year or last year, something like that. So they're definitely way behind. So
I'm not even sure that my pistol's on there. We were talking about that last night.
Actually, now that the music is off, do you guys want to say your page again that you just started?
Go ahead.
It was New Hampshire spelled out. Second Amendment support, I believe.
Or on Facebook. So just go on the search and search that.
So you guys can go search if you guys want to learn more about what they're going to be doing. And thank you guys for giving me a little gun lesson today.
No problem, anytime.
Thank you
Alrighty.
for helping.
Yeah, thank you.
Your way.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah, we lost.
All right, guys. I hope you appreciate my covering of this event. I'm freezing, and I'm going to finish it here. So hopefully, I wasn't shaking too bad. See you later, guys. Bye, Heather.